in town hall meetings all across our country. People angry over the lawlessness of Donald Trump's mass deportation campaign. Joining us now is Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who last week directly called out Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem for her agency's involvement and lawlessness in carrying out Trump's immigration policy. Senator, there's some news breaking just in the last hour about Donald Trump's plan to redirect a whole lot of FBI assets, people normally responsible for investigating crimes, to his deportation and immigration enforcement efforts. Your thoughts on that?
I haven't been briefed on that, but listen, what we know is that it stands in context, and the myopia about the border and all of the resources from the Department of Homeland Security to the military that are being sent to the border, it's rendering the United States defenseless in other areas. For instance, one of the things Trump has done is to gut our cybersecurity agency, and that's in service of trying to gather as much money as they can to send down to the border. The reality is that China and Russia right now are trying to steal Americans' data, are trying to shut down critical information, energy, water treatment facilities in the United States, and they're having a field day, more successful than ever in probing, our cybersecurity defenses, because we've decided to stand down in some of the ways that we protect the United States outside of the southwest border. So, we're more at jeopardy of an attack than ever before, and that's because the only thing that Trump and Noem and that crowd thinks about is their xenophobic, racist campaign to try to deny entry to this country of anybody that doesn't, look like them or have the same ethnicity as them.
I mean, the poll numbers show that the public does not support what they're doing on that front, and so confronting them is not a partisan endeavor. Do you see any Republicans willing to join the effort?
Well, listen, what the public does support is a secure border. And as you know, Nicole, we worked really hard at the end of the Biden administration to come up with a bill, a piece of legislation that would get us a secure border, giving the president emergency authority, sending billions of dollars of resources, legal resources to the border, clearing up the whole asylum system so that people would get their claim adjudicated at the border and you wouldn't have the situation where people get released into the United States while they await their claim. Donald Trump killed that bill. And to the extent that Donald Trump wants a different immigration system, he has to come to Congress and get Congress to authorize it. He can't just institute his own immigration system, which apparently involves deporting people from this country who have been given court protection to stay here. I don't see Republicans breaking anytime soon. I think it is likely to be our court system that is going to protect us. And I think it's hard to sort of overstate how big the risk is here of things getting even worse. I have a constituent in Connecticut that I just got briefed on. Her name is Lisa Anderson. She lives in Cromwell, Connecticut. She was born in Pennsylvania, and she got an order to self-deport. She got an order to self-deport. She was born in the United States. And so the meanness combined with the incompetence, this thing is going to get worse before it gets better.
What can you do? I mean, did you intervene? What do you do in that instance?
Sure, we've intervened. We've tried to, get the Department of Homeland Security to issue a correction to make sure that she's protected, to assure her that she's not going to get a knock on the door from an ICE agent. And they've refused to do that, just like they've refused to admit their mistake in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Listen, mistakes get made, but they get made far more often by this administration than any other administration, in part because they are rushing a policy that is unconstitutional, that is illegal, and that is badly thought out.
I mean, your point about the country being exposed to threats, foreign and domestic, is something that you hear privately from former national security officials all the time, that there's never been a moment since the years leading up to September 11th when the country was more vulnerable. Is the Congress so broken on the Republican side that nobody gives a hoot?
Yeah, I mean, what Trump did in his first term is what he's doing in his second term. He's taking military assets and he's stealing them from the defense of this nation and putting them in service of his attempt to shut down the border illegally, right? Illegally. That's important. I mean, people, when they come to this country under the statutes, are allowed to claim asylum if they're fleeing terror or torture, and they're not allowed to do that any longer because there's not just border agents there. There's lots of military members who, frankly, should be out fighting terrorist groups that exist in all parts of the world. It's not just MS-13 that presents a threat to the United States. I just don't know that our Republican colleagues will ever break. This is a cult. It operates like a cult, and for the time being, if Donald Trump says black is white or 1 + 1 = 5, the Republican Party is going to agree with him.
And I guess at some point, if the Democrats take over the majorities in the House and the Senate, it won't matter. But I wonder if you feel like we have enough time. You look at the grift, you look at the corruption, you look at the pay-to-play going on. It's staggering, and it's all out in the open. It's almost as if to say, you know, when you're president, you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the conversation we're having right now inside the Democratic Party. How urgent is the moment? You know what I believe, Nicole. I believe that there's no guarantee that we are going to have a free and fair election in 2026. I think he's trying to rig our democracy, to destroy dissent, to cripple the political opposition, so that even if his approval ratings are in the 30s in the fall of next year, there isn't the ability for his opposition to muster a real campaign. So I think we've got to act with tremendous urgency, and we have to make the corruption and the destruction of democracy the #1 issue. So we've got this crypto regulation bill pending before Congress. The only way we should pass that bill, the only way that we should move that bill forward is if it unwinds Trump's crypto corruption. That would be an example of Democrats saying, you know what, we're not going to pretend that this is business as usual. Unless you are helping us stop Trump's corruption and his attempt to destroy democracy, then we're not moving legislation forward. That's the main thing. That's the problem that we should be solving for. And that's a fight that we're, going to continue to have, a discussion we're going to continue to have.
Let's talk about the plane. I worked for a president. I have the extraordinary privilege of getting to fly on Air Force One. The one that we have is amazing. So there's the why of it. There's also George W. Bush, my old boss, flew around on Air Force One as 9/11 was happening. There's the security piece of it. There's the grift of it. There's the nothing in life is free. How do you tackle the flagrant lack of anything ethical or normal with the plane in terms of how you so effectively communicate with your constituents and the country?
I mean, this is bananas. A foreign government is giving a $400 million plane to the President of the United States in exchange for favorable national security treatment. The country next door is doing a deal with Trump's crypto business worth $2 billion in exchange for favorable treatment from the United States. I mean, it's amazing that this is, even a debate as to whether this is okay, acceptable, legal, or constitutional. I mean, you're right. Air Force One's a pretty nice plane. Why do you need a new one? Well, because this plane is Donald Trump's plane. This plane Donald Trump gets to keep and use after he's president of the United States. My hope is that Qatar rescinds this offer. My hope is that after Trump leaves town, Qatar decides that they want a long-term relationship with the United States. They don't want a relationship just with Donald Trump. And let me guarantee you, even though there are important alliances we have with the Saudis, UAE, and Qatar, those alliances will be frayed permanently if they continue paying off Donald Trump. I think for the long-term relationship with the United States, these countries should think twice before it's too late about giving Trump what he wants, which is cash in his pocket.
What damage does Trump do by taking a trip and not even pretending to care about some of our other allies in other parts of the world?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's going to these three countries for a simple reason. These are the three countries that are willing to pay him. Right? Traditionally, a president might go first to Canada or to one of our European allies, but those countries aren't willing to write Trump a check. These are the three countries that are willing to pay Donald Trump, and that is essentially what controls Donald Trump's day. Right? He spends most of his day either golfing or benefiting and profiting off of his office. So that's the message he's sending to the rest of the world. If you want the United States to pay attention to you for the next 3.5 words, you got to pay me off. And if you don't, then you're going to have to wait in the back of the line. But that's the same thing that's happening domestically. A big trucking company that operates in the United States just announced publicly that they were buying $20 million of Trump coin, because that's how they understand they would get an exemption from the tariffs. So the same message plays in the United States. If you pay Donald Trump off, you'll get what you want. But if you're an ordinary American, or you're just some small mom and pop business that's getting hurt by the tariffs, you're going to get screwed, because this is a pay-to-play White House. That's true overseas, and that is true here in the United States.
Senator Chris Murphy, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time to talk to us today.
Appreciate it.
When we come back, we'll bring in our panel on Donald Trump and that luxury jet we're talking about from Qatar, as well as the false explanation Trump has used to justify accepting it. Don't go anywhere.